Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Dawn Patrol. I'm Cliff Krieger, your host. We're joined by Eileen Del Rossi, member of the Lowell School Committee. We're looking for Fu and Kimbang to zoom in, and maybe Mike Smith from Florida. So, Eileen, how are you doing today? I saw there's a headline in the Boston Globe today: can Trump fix the national debt? Republican senators, many investors, and even Musk have doubts. But you've got the BRICS working to form their own currency, and when the U.S. dollar is no longer the world reserve currency, we're going to be in trouble.
Cliff, you got a beach chair on the sand, looking at the ocean, and you're reading the book Gloom and Doom. Put the book of Gloom and Doom down and enjoy the seashore.
Fu, is John right or am I right?
Well, I beg to disagree, because we are living in an illusion. You can only cut your debt if you minimize your expenses. And we spend billions, trillions supporting wars across that do not benefit us in any way, instead of focusing, while our enemies are focusing on production of goods and services and building industries that will translate into a thriving economy. And they are now coming at us, because instead of waging a war of production, we are waging war of destruction. And we use the dollar as a tool of bullying other nations into submission to our own dictates, and by setting sanctions. Cliff, you can fool someone, some of the time. You can fool all the people some of the time, but you can never fool all the people all the time.
Okay.
What did Fru just say?
He quoted Abraham Lincoln.
I know that. Remain seated and thought a fool, all the other good stuff he said, yeah. With respect that I just said, there's no worries about the debt.
And he said there are worries about the debt, and that eventually we're going to run out of the ability to pay the interest on the debt.
The country has and will be in debt. We still have a spending problem in this country. Yes, we do. Back over to you, Cliff. Thank you for your comments.
Well, Cliff, on that note, if you may permit me to add something.
Go ahead.
Well, you are already aware of this quote made by the U.S. president many decades ago, that the only kind of war we seek is the good old fight against man's ancient enemies. Poverty, disease, hunger, and literacy. Is that the kind of war that we are facing, that we are waging now? And who is the president who said that?
Tell us, Fru, who's the president?
It's Harry Truman in 1951.
Yeah.
How come we are not waging the war of poverty, war of disease, war of hunger, and the war against illiteracy at home?
Yeah, Truman, 1951.
51. Understood better. I thought he said 61.
No.
So, when was Eisenhower?
Sworn in 1953.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we're doing a good job fighting the war on poverty, the war on literacy, the situation. We've gotten involved in a couple of struggles that just went on too long, and some that we never should have gotten into, like the war in Libya. Eileen, you got any thoughts on literacy, for instance?
Yeah, I mean, only time will tell with literacy. I think we're graduating an awful lot more of kids that can't read, and no one's making a big deal about it because they don't want to, or it wouldn't make them look good.
Just a doggone minute, Madam School Committee woman. Nobody in the system stays back. If you go to school in the United States, you don't stay back. I'm sorry, teach, I didn't get that in math. Yeah, I know, honey. Bye-bye. You're going to the next grade. Until the school department, Lowell's, Tewksbury's, I don't care what school department you're talking about, until they start to have kids stay back that didn't get math, that didn't get reading, this is going to continue. I'll listen to your thoughts, Eileen, because you're the elected official. A comment from the audience. Unfortunately, Fru, the government does not care about solving problems. They only create problems.
Yeah, I was going to say that, I mean, as we are talking about the economy and not also investing in the human capital, and also talking about immigration, and which is a hot thing now, and most of the like the farm workers also, they do it under the backs of immigrants, and we are pushing also these other great nations, China, Russia, and India, and Japan. We know that our economy runs on their loans. And if these countries stand and say, pay back my loan, what are we going to do?
Well, I don't know. That's where I think we need to take some action. Someone pointed out that President Trump, maybe by accident, is helping to pay the interest on the loan on that $36 trillion debt. He's riled the stock market, and a lot of money has flowed from the stock market over to federal bonds, and that's helping do the interest issue by lowering the cost of federal bonds.
But when you talk of the stock market ratio, population-wise, the stock market enriches the richer and makes them become richer and richer, and then the poor become poorer and poorer. The poor people don't even have money to eat, let alone say that they will have money to invest. So when you do that, and also cut taxes on those who are already super rich, and you think that you are helping the nation, that is just a deceitful way which you would, and if anyone criticizes that, we bring this label that they are socialists, they are communists. And when you hear those words, be very, very careful, because those words are anti the super rich, and they will use the media to label anyone who is advocating for the poor and for domestic development and advancement, because they have all their savings offshore and to avoid taxes.
What is the total debt right now?
It's like 36.94 trillion.
36, how many zeros? 369? Oh, so I'll make it 37, okay? Just for giggles, okay? But how many zeros?
I'd say 12.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Divided by how many million people in the U.S.? 300 million?
About 360.
360. How many zeros?
6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So before we go home today, we should all write the government a check for $102,000. So,
Individually.
before you go to supper, write a check to Uncle Sam for 102. You better make it 100.
Okay, John, can you cover mine?
Eileen, same thing. Make a check to the government for $103,000. That's what the deficit. So that's why I laugh at it. It has to do with paper. This is all ridiculous. Every Tom, Dick, and Mary's got to write a check before supper time for $103,000.
Actually,
Well, John, for the rich, that money is peanuts. But for you and I, and we are supporting and defending the rich when they come down and say taxes and say let's go to war, and while we are walking down the streets, the roads are bad, schools are dilapidating, there's homelessness.
Oh, let me ask you, look, we all know if for some reason we all won the lottery today, and all of a sudden we had $100 million in our bank, and we all wrote a check to the government for that sum I just talked about, the government would just say, thank you very much, and go borrow more money, wouldn't they?
That, the debt per taxpayer is $323,000. If you take out all the little kiddies and all that.
No, it's 102, it's 103 grand. The little kids,
Per person.
They gotta write a check. Luke's gonna write a check for 103 grand.
The
Every
US
Tom, Dick, and Mary.
The U.S. debt clock, and
I wouldn't.
everybody out there should put in the back of their mind, if you type in U.S. debt clock and hit return, it brings up all these figures, and it says the debt
It's
per
a very
taxpayer.
I'll do that. U.S. Cliff's the smartest guy I ever met is Cliff Krieger, and only he can comprehend what's going on here, and nobody else that I know of. The Doge clock, the savings per taxpayer, blah 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 blah. We all owe a lot of money, and the government doesn't care. They're going to go borrow more.
Some people in the government care.
Well, the banks are loving all the interest money they're collecting on this.
I don't think so. Banks existed when we didn't have a big U.S. debt.
Banks prosper with the U.S. debt. That's just my take on it. And I got 2 checks to come up. When they're up there, I'll put them up there. Oh, the debt clock never came up. I'm sorry.
In the upper left-hand corner is the debt. You can see it rolled in along.
Right here?
Yep. Next to it is the debt per person. Our calculation was pretty close. They say it's 107,000. And then right next to it is the debt per taxpayer, which always makes me think about our senior senator, Elizabeth Warren.
So, Fru, you can pay your whole family off, or you just write a check before supper for 323 grand. Make it out to Uncle Sam. Thank you.
Our senior senator keeps saying that she wants the rich to pay their fair share. I think she had you in mind, John. Are you paying your fair share? Go ahead, read those two.
All right. If the city cared about fixing problems, they would have addressed the shelter decades ago. Second one, it's very simple. Congress has raided the cookie jar, and that's left is crumbs for the peasants. I want Trump, thank you for your comments, and if you want to, you can text my cell phone. That's on the screen there, where it's 978-808-8200.
So the top 1% are paying almost a quarter of the tax that's paid to the federal government. The top 5% are paying about half the tax that's paid to the government.
And the government is spending 100% of those taxes and borrowing 100% of those taxes.
Did we have any thoughts, Fru, on to wrap up Trump's trip to the Middle East? Did you have any lingering thoughts you wanted to give us?
The only thing I like to throw on our panelists to get their own impression as to what happened at the White House during the visit of the President of South Africa, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa. Whether everyone was excited with what happened at the Oval Office, or just to go around and let people share their thoughts.
You still there, Fru? Hang in, Fru. And Fru, you're there, right?
Yes. Did you hear my question?
Yes.
I thought maybe my question got me offline.
No. The question is, should Trump, in my mind, should Trump have confronted the president of South Africa over the issue of whether or not Caucasian farmers in South Africa were being evicted from their land? I don't know the truth.
January.
Well, it looks like we are ready to tackle that question.
It's apparently upset some people that we've provided refuge to 30-some South Africans who claimed they were fleeing because they were being persecuted.
No, please, but if you put your question in the right, you frame your question not the way I want it. I'm saying that false information was presented in the Oval Office and saw our president holding information that was manipulated and showing it on the screen, which that information was visibly and intentionally manipulated to suit that scenario. And that is what the media does. How can we bring our guests to embarrass him with wrong information? Is that really diplomacy?
I saw that happen on live TV. Amazing.
But that's why we are minimizing it and pushing it, and that is exactly what people do. Instead of facing something and saying so that we learn from it, we try to sugarcoat it and think that our audience are not seeing through what we are doing.
It was not a good diplomatic move or a good diplomatic look. I agree with you. I don't know that I have a solution. How do you guys see it going in Palestine? I mean, this thing is reflecting. The speaker at MIT was supposed to speak Thursday and Friday. She spoke Thursday and was talking about genocide in Gaza, and the MIT people said she couldn't speak on Friday.
Well, it's all over the news. Genocide is happening in Palestine. The Israeli government continues to pound and kill probably 30 people a day. The Israeli government's killing.
When is the Israeli government decide to go to genocide?
When you deliberately kill people just because they live in a certain spot, they're considering that genocide. I guess I should look up what is the definition of genocide to see if they should use a better word that they're killing everybody in that neighborhood.
The population in Gaza was 245,000 in 1950, and now it's 2 million. So if the
But is that why, Cliff, I think your figures show that is that why they are based on trying to eliminate and reduce the population of people, or what are you insinuating by that?
What I'm insinuating by that is if the Israelis' goal is genocide, they don't have a clue what they're doing. They're doing it wrong. But I do think their goal is to eliminate Hamas. And in that, I think they're wrong.
Okay, but my question to you and our panelists, Cliff, is that if the whole world is looking at this and condemning it, life is life. You can never replace life. And all lives are equal in the eyes of God.
True.
And if we look at it as if some lives are not worth living, and if the whole world, that the population of the entire world combined together is about 8 billion, over 8 billion people. And if you take from that point, how many people do not approve this? And I mean, how many countries are in the world? You know, even our European allies are already distancing themselves from us. Does that give room for us to think twice and say, in fact, something should happen, or we should change our narrative?
Oh, I agree, and I think that's what Trump's trying to do. But anyway, John wants to interrupt our discussion by asking, do you have anything else you want to bring up?
No, about what?
Anything. Is there any itch you have that you'd like to scratch here?
Oh, well, if you say anything, I would just want to bring our attention that the way the West covers news should change, because what is going on in Africa in particular, which you can never see it in the Western main media, actually shows the hypocrisy and has really opened the eyes of the international community that all Western coverage on Africa was really to describe Africa as a backward place for them to keep on exploiting. There is a lot of change in Africa, and the population. Africa has a vibrant youth population, but the way the West characterizes, they characterize Africa as a place that is no good of anything and only good for them to extract raw materials and go there and test weapons and say there is war and the like, disease and germs But the good news coming out of Africa is totally missing in the Western media. Is that intentional, or what is your comment, and how do you, as a media person, what do you say?
I think that you've got a good point, but I think the media is catering to its audience. What
And
it thinks,
its advertisers.
what it thinks is its audience, because the advertisers want the audience to be as large as possible. And I think that there's a lot of ignorance in the United States about what goes on in the rest of the world.
So if I get you correctly, you are advising our audience and viewers to take what comes out of the news that we watch and see with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and to broaden their sources of news, to get different looks at things. I don't know if it'll continue, but I think the current administration saying that it's not the job of the United States to tell other countries how to run their lives, that's a good step forward. And I think getting the NGOs, the non-governmental organizations, which we fund with billions of dollars, getting them under control is good, because a lot of them are not really helping foreign countries. And as you point out, some of it is actually espionage against foreign countries. So those are two positive steps, I think.
And I totally agree with you, Cliff. They said necessity is the mother of invention. When you see, what some of this, what I've read and son and seen of live interview of Peace Corps and even these NGOs, some of them coming back very angry that they were used to go and extract information and bring that information, and that information turns out to be very, very disaster, and to these host countries in Africa who welcome them like brothers and sisters. But in return, whatever they did there, the public took advantage of them in terms of saying that these NGOs, they are going there they are the miracle, they are the guardian angel, but they have a sinister agenda that they go there. But the West, we buy all that information, and that's the reason why someone will challenge and speak down on Africans that they are not up to whatever their imagination says. Thank you.
Well, I think one of the things we have to keep in mind, I think the Peace Corps, when it started, was a good idea, but then things drifted, and I think that maybe that was one of the good things about DOGE, is exposing how some government organizations drifted from their original missions and became a little corrupt.
Comment from the audience: I don't think Africa is corrupt enough. That could be a reason the American mafia might not want to do business with. The definition for genocide is defined, according to AI on Google, is defined as the deliberate and systematic destruction of a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group with the intent to destroy that whole group in part.
In whole or in part, yeah.
This intent is crucial element differentiating from the mass killings that may not have the same goal of destroying the group's existence. So based on what I just said, is what's happening in Gaza genocide? Yes.
No.
Okay. So on that little note, we're going to go off to break land. Fro, I'm going to give you the last word, then we're going to go to break. Thank you.
Citylive show is fair and balanced. Watch Citylive show.
Thanks to you, Fro. Have a good week.
You're welcome, Joe.
See you next time. Thank you.